horrible incident yesterday that many of you have no doubt already heard about. A 29-year-old man from Uzbekistan rented a flatbed pickup truck painted as a Home Depot truck. It's believed that it was an actual Home Depot rental truck at this time in New York City. He actually rented it in New Jersey, drove over into New York City and down the West Side Highway and into pedestrians on West Street in Lower Manhattan. Now, West Street at that part of Manhattan is the name of the West Side Highway, which is also known as Route 9A in New York City. And when you think about the shape of Manhattan, it's sort of narrow and long north to south. On the east side of the island, you have the FDR, which is the sort of north-south highway that exists there. On the west side, you have the West Side Highway, and there's this really nice bike path and running path alongside the West Side Highway. I know it well. When the David Pakman show was in New York City, our office was not too far from this part. And that's where the truck veered off and into the bike path and started to run people over. And the use of a truck to run people over has been a mode employed by the sort of neo-jihadi ISIS umbrella term terrorists over the last couple of years. But if there was any doubt as to the ideological background of this individual, he reportedly shouted, "Allahu Akbar, God is great," in Arabic, according to multiple witnesses, including both civilians and law enforcement officials, when he was exiting his truck. Now, he exited the truck with, some people are describing them as fake guns. I mean, they were real guns, but it was a paintball gun and a pellet gun. So they were not real in the sense that they did not fire what we would call full ammunition, full power ammunition. They were able to fire paintballs and pellets. And then the driver shot by police and arrested, brought into surgery at Bellevue Hospital in New York City, out of surgery. FBI saying earlier today that they've already interviewed the individual, not willing to say anything about the content of those interviews at this time, and by all likely assessments is going to spend the rest of his life in prison. Now, as far as the victims, 8 people were killed total, and I found out that 5 were from my home country of Argentina. It was actually a group of 5 Argentinians who came to the United States, to New York City, to celebrate a 30th anniversary of high school graduation. So as you would imagine, people who graduated high school 30 years ago in their late 40s at this time. Another report said that a 6th non-American victim was a Belgian woman. Later, the report said that it was a German individual. I guess we're not 100% sure at this time, or at least I'm not 100% sure. And as you can imagine, Argentinian news, which I watch every day in the morning, has been covering this extensively. I've been receiving notices from the Argentinian consulate in New York City. They've been working to be in touch with family members of the 5 Argentinian deceased individuals, working to figure out how to get the remains back to Argentina as quickly as possible, but in concert with the wishes of the families. And then, other than the 8 killed, also 11 injured, including 2 kids, maybe 12 injured. I've seen both numbers. The kids, at least reportedly, not seriously hurt. Some of the adults very seriously hurt. And now the fallout of this politically starts to happen. And Donald Trump using this in a totally sort of confusing way, in a disappointing way, in a disjointed and confused way, putting out a couple of tweets about this incident, starting first by saying, and see if you can understand what he's saying here, "We must not allow ISIS to return or enter our country after defeating them in the Middle East and elsewhere. Enough." So right away, this is an attempt to brag about his so-called defeat of ISIS, which, by the way, is no big thing to brag about. I've been saying for years at this point that more than likely within 2 years, within 18 to 24 months, ISIS, in terms of its stronghold in the Middle East, is going to be effectively destroyed, whether it's Trump, Obama, Ted Cruz, Hillary, whoever it is that's in power. That's the direction things have been going. But the more difficult thing is going to be to root out these individual attacks around the world, sort of under the umbrella of ISIS ideology. And it's also fine to say, well, we're not going to let bad people who want to do damage and bad things to the U.S. into the country. But remember that this is an individual who came to the United States legally from Uzbekistan, and Uzbekistan is not on Trump's or anybody else's travel ban list, nor have I heard anyone even suggest that Uzbekistan should be on the list. So right away, it's an attempt to politicize from Donald Trump, without it actually being totally clear that he even understands what's going on. And then sadly, in the midst of all this, Donald Trump putting out another tweet about visas, saying the terrorists came into our country through what's called the Diversity Visa Lottery Program, a Chuck Schumer beauty. I want merit-based, and then also tweeting about vetting. I have just ordered Homeland Security to step up our already extreme vetting program. Being politically correct is fine, but not for this. So immediately using the tragedy to try to score confused and weird political points. And I've been clear, when there's a mass shooting, that's a good time to talk about mass shootings and gun safety. That's not what I'm faulting Donald Trump for. What I'm faulting him for is trying to use this to, first of all, brag about things for which he really deserves no credit. And secondly, confusion. It's total confusion as to what he believes the solutions are to the problem that we're faced with. Number one, he mentions Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer, even Jeff Flake said, Chuck Schumer was one of many people involved in the passage of that visa program. Jeff Flake also said back in 2013, we had a bipartisan proposal to do away with this particular program. That was never made law, and it's both Republicans and Democrats that are to blame. And of course, with most of Trump's statements, there's always something or a lot missing. And in this case, it's that you still vet people who come to the United States on this particular visa program. The selection is via lottery, but you're not exempt from vetting just because you've been selected for a possible visa in a lottery. And the distraction that is this, I believe, is working for many, many Trumpists, because they are tuning into Fox News, they are watching Breitbart or reading Breitbart and watching InfoWars, etc. And it is a total misdirection campaign. And by the way, also taking attention away from the growing scandal of Trump-Russia-related indictments. But that's another story which we will talk about. This incident, absolutely horrible. And to be 100% clear, none of what Donald Trump so far has either attempted to enact or enacted via executive order or proposed or suggested during the campaign or as president would actually have done anything to prevent this particular attack. It's a different conversation, one we should be having, but it's a different conversation than the one that Donald Trump wants to have. The video you just finished watching was made possible by you through the membership program. You can sign up for membership at davidpakman.com/membership. We are viewer-supported independent media. You can use the coupon code IVoted17 for a 40% discount off of your membership.